ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ। ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਤੇ ਮੁਕੰਦੇ ਉਦਾਰੇ ਅਪਾਰੇ, ਹਰੀਅੰ ਕਰੀਅੰ ਨਿਰਨਾਮੇ ਅਕਾਮੇ। ਗੋਬਿੰਦੇ ਮੁਕੰਦੇ ਉਦਾਰੇ ਅਪਾਰੇ, ਹਰੀਅੰ ਕਰੀਅੰ ਨਿਰਨਾਮੇ ਅਕਾਮੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। Maharaj Kripa, we are going to continue the next Salok, where Ashtavakra ji is explaining about the state of a Brahmagyani, an enlightened being who has recognized their Atam Sarup, and they are still in the Atam Sarup. So Maharaj is explaining the state of a Brahmagyani. So Maharaj says that the a Brahmagyani is completely free from any attachment from any way, and they actually live in the world according to their own wish now, because they are not slave to their mind anymore. So because after doing the abhyas and also after self-realization, they have no in a state where the mind has become their slave now. Instead of being carried away with the mind, they are completely free from it. So in that way, they act according to whatever happens in Sahaj Avastha. The Vanda Rahat means that they are without duality. So Atma, the consciousness itself, does not have any duality in it. The duality is only at the level of mind. It is the mind that is uh, entangled in the concept of Advait and the Vat. So the Atma itself does not have any, the Atma doesn't have any singularity or plural in it. So a Brahmajnani is completely free from duality as well. Sandeh rahat, har bhav prati asakti rahat. What it means that they don't have any attraction towards anything. They don't get attached to certain things only. Whatever naturally is happening, appearing in front of the consciousness, they are simply experiencing it in a way that they don't get attached to anything anymore. Ikalla buddhiman raman karda hai. So ikalla means that for an enlightened being, even if they are surrounded by people, they are still within themselves experiencing this oneness and this solitude of just being themselves. To them, there is no second entity that's present in the entire world. That's why wherever they are, they don't feel in the sense that of when they're around people too, within themselves, they are still in a place of solitude. Salok, Mamata Rahet Deem Patthar Sone Prati Sam. So, as we discussed, that a Brahmajnani is no longer attached to any one particular form or name. And that's because they have realized that the temporary nature of things. So, because they have recognized that everything, the nature itself, the quality of nature, which is the three qualities that we talk about, sato, rajo, tamo, these are constantly changing. So they don't get attached to any one particular quality. And because they have recognized the very temporary nature of the world, they no longer get attached to anything. However, within themselves, they have recognized something which is this essence, which is the mool, which is the Atman, that is ever present. And that doesn't change. That's why it's called a Sattvastu. Sat means which remains still steady in all the forms. It doesn't matter how many years passes by, how many times the world is created. This one essence is always the pure consciousness. It remains as it is. So for them, there is no difference between a stone and gold as well. Because they have recognized that they're all made of the same five elements and there is no attachment to one thing over another. Khul chuki hirde granthi wala. What it means is that they are ever flowing, this ever flowing river, that there is no resistance left in a Brahmagyani. So even if physically they appear to show resistance, they have their opinions, they might express some strong beliefs or take stand for things. It doesn't mean within themselves they hold any grudges anymore. And that's what we have seen throughout all the timelines, that all the enlightened beings, they were so full of love within themselves, they could never hate anyone within themselves. Even like there was no concept of hate left in them. The reason is because they are experiencing only the Atma everywhere. So when they are experiencing the same essence, there is no point of dislike towards one thing over another. They still do the play though. They still, obviously, when the time comes, they take a stand for Taram and Ataram. However, within themselves, they have no Rajogun and Tamogun left. So mostly enlightened being, they reside in a state of Satogun. Sato means a state of calmness, clarity, where there is only pure awareness. But a Brahmgyani doesn't even get attached to the Sato state. They can use Rajo and Tamo now. Instead of getting clouded by that, the, they are more filled with the sattvic qualities in them, which means they're naturally, they have tendency towards seva pav, prema bhakti. All these are gun of Satogun. Salok, sab vishya prati asakti rahat. So all the sensory objects, they are no longer attached. It doesn't mean they run away from their house or they seek certain experience. Whatever the experience is naturally happening, they just know that this is just simply an experience happening in consciousness. So they don't get attached to any of the experience, the objects itself. Vashna Rahat Man Wale. So the mind has reached a state of desireless. Even if a desire comes in there, they use the gyan to break that desire. So that's why gyan khadag word is used in Gurbani, that the gyan is like that sharp edged sword that actually cuts through all the illusion and desires of the mind. Puri tarah tript. What it means is they're completely content within themselves. It's like this wind that has stopped blowing within their inside them. So that's how they experience what the Brahmgyani explains about this state. ਮੁਕਤ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਦੀ ਤੁਲਨਾ ਕਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ? So Ashtavakra ji is saying we can actually really can't compare an enlightened being to anyone, because first of all, only those who have had a direct experience of it, only they will be able to feel it within themselves. And not just that, they will be, even if they try to explain it, it becomes, the words feel like the words are not enough anymore to express this experience of bliss. So, Maharaj is saying we actually cannot compare enlightened beings to anyone at all. Salok, ਵਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਰਹਿਤ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਹੋਰ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਦਾ? So Ashtavakra ji is explaining about state, desireless state. That someone who has experienced this desireless state, it's no longer an experience but something that has become their second nature. Their very nature is desire free, because atma does not have any desires. It's the mind that creates desires because of agyanta. So enlightened beings, while they are doing everything, while they are looking at the world, while they are speaking, still they are not doing any action. karam, because whatever actions are happening through the body, they are simply present in this pure awareness, and everything is simply passing through them, like the clouds passing in through the sky. So the sky is not directly attached to the clouds, but when we look at the clouds from earth, we will see that from a distance that the clouds are actually attached to the sky, they appear in the sky. But the truth is, there is a vast space between the sky and the clouds itself. And that is the state of a Brahmajnani. There comes a huge space between their Atam Sarup and all the objectory, the sensory pleasures, all the desires, everything. And that's why they have completely resided in their own Atam Sarup. In Gurubani, it's called the Nij Sarup, that your own Atam Sarup that you can reside in. And the truth is, eventually, each one of us will have to reside in our own Atam Sarup. We can't experience Atma outside the body. The body is a tool that is there to experience itself. The Atma experiences itself through the body only. When there is no physical form, the Atma cannot recognize itself. So that's why Maharaj says that Gobind Milan ki eh teri bariya, that your this having this physical body is your actual chance to experience yourself. Gobind is no second entity, it is your own Atam Sarup. So you can actually within yourself experience your own divine nature. Salok, ਭਿਖਾਰੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਰਾਜਾ, ਜੋ ਕਾਮਨਾ ਰਹਿਤ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਜਿਸ ਦੀ ਚੰਗੇ ਭੈੜੇ ਭਾਵ ਵਾਲੀ ਸੋਚ ਸਮਾਪਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਸ਼ੋਭਦਾ ਹੈ. So Ashtavakra Maharaj is saying that it doesn't matter if an enlightened being is a beggar or they are Raja. Like we know that Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and some other Guru Sahib had also the position of a king, and Raja Janak Ji is Raja as well. Yet it does not mean that they can't be enlightened, or someone who is not like who is a beggar, for instance. The point is being that they have, it's the desireless state that they have achieved. And the desireless states only can come from recognizing that you are complete within yourself, that there is no something outside of you that will ever quench this thirst. And in that recognition, the desires naturally start settling down. So Maharaj says that for a Brahmajnani, there is no concept of good versus bad anymore. Still, like Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and so many other Mahapurukhs, they have shown us, Krishan Maharaj Ji, that even if they have no concept of good versus bad, they still do what's right, what's needed in that moment. They still take stand for Taram, the the duty. They still perform that for the betterment of the world. So in that way, Maharaj says that that is the state of an enlightened being. श्लोक अपना लक्ष्य प्राप्त कर चुके ਨਿਸ਼ਕਪਟ ਸਰਲ ਜੋਗੀ ਦੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਬੇਲਗਾਮੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਸੰਕੋਚ ਅਤੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਤਤ ਦਾ ਨਿਸ਼ਚਾ. So Maharaj is saying about that those first of all who were walking on the path of enlightenment or spirituality, they have reached this goal, kind of like that's the whole point of any spiritual practices that we do. At the end of the day, the goal is to recognize your Atam Sarup. So, an enlightened being has completely immersed in this state of pure awareness that they can't even have any cunning nature anymore, because all these qualities are of the mind. And second thing is that one can only play games or act from a sense of deceive when there is a second entity present. But for a Brahmgyani, when they are the only one present in the whole universe, they don't hate, they don't play any games, they don't play any tricks. However, in times, they still use their intellect for the betterment of the world, but they will never deceive anyone in the way that we often see that people often deceive each other. Because for them, for enlightened being, there is no second entity present. So Mara says that they are not even doing any vichar of tattva, the atam tat anymore, because the experience itself has taken over now. So first, the mind is completely now um, merged in that state of awareness as well. So for a Brahmgyani, the mind, they can give birth to the mind in a way rather than getting carried away with the mind. So in that way, Kithe Tatada Nishcha means that they don't even need to do any affirmations of that they are the Atma, because it's happening in Sahaj now. So all the vikar, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, they have won over them. But as long as they have the body, they still use these five things for while they are living in the world. So it's like the Panj Chor now have become their sevak, their servant. So Maharaj is saying this is the mool, the very essence of the yoga, which we call the yoga, as in this is the union, that the realization of Atma. So Maharaj is saying this is the very basic actually, that their mind has become completely still and it doesn't wander around anymore. So that is the Maharaj gives an example of that. What is the real yoga? What is the real yoga? Salok, ਆਤਮ ਸਰੂਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਨਾਲ ਤ੍ਰਿਪਤ, ਇੱਛਾ ਰਹਿਤ, ਦੁੱਖ ਰਹਿਤ ਸਾਧਕ ਦੁਆਰਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਜੋ ਅਨੁਭਵ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ? Ashtavakra ji Maharaj is trying to really explain, but he's admitting that at the end of the day, we cannot express through words anymore. Because who would ever understand this? Only a Brahmgyani will be able to understand a state of another Brahmgyani. And in that way, Maharaj is saying that it is a state of, still, Ashtavakra is using words to express that it is a state of contentment, where there are no desires left, where there is no suffering left. And in that way, it is a direct experience of the own Atam Sarup. So Maharaj is saying no matter how much we try to, one can try to explain, they cannot fully express through the words. Only the direct experience they are able to within themselves. They're simply in the state of bliss within themselves. And the example analogy Maharaj gives in Gurbani is that, like, if a mute person who has tasted something very sweet, and you ask this mute person, how that, can you explain the taste of this chocolate? The mute person, no matter how much, obviously he first of all can't speak, so he can't express it because there are no words to him. In the same way, for a Brahmgyani, the exact state he cannot explain clearly through words, even if he tries, as if the words no longer matter anymore. The words cannot fully capture that state. Salok, ਸੰਤੋਖੀ ਹਰ ਹਾਲਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਤ੍ਰਿਪਤ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ. So Maharaj is saying those who have attained this state of contentment, they are, wherever, whatever state they are in, they are fully content in that state. So Maharaj is explaining about the three states of the mind. One is the wakeful, when we are awake and engaging in the world. Second is the dream state, and then third is the deep sleep. So these are all the states of the mind. The wakeful state is when the mind, there are activities happening in the mind. And but for a brahmagyani, for even if the mind is still active, they are completely detached from it. So the mind's activity no longer reach them. Even if while they are talking, while they're engaging with the world, while they are awake, they are still in the Atam state. In a deep sleep, the Atma does not experience anything because there is no experience happening. That's why in deep sleep, we don't remember where what's happening. There is absolute no experience happening in the mind. So in that way, the deep sleep, for a brahmgyani, the deep sleep and the wakeful state is the same. They don't chase one experience over another. And the dream state is obviously when we go to the bed and we experience some dream. In that way, the self-realized person knows that it is just another experience in the mind that's happening. So they don't question dreams as well, in a way that the understanding, very basic understanding, remains the same, whether they are wakeful, whether they are dreaming, or whether they are in deep sleep. So these are the three states Gurbani Gyan explains about, that these are the three states of the mind. And the Turiya, the fourth state is the state of observer, which is called the Turiya Pad. And for the Brahm Gyan, it's known to have total about 8 stages. Up to 7, people still can explain their experience, but the 8 stages completely transcend of the ego. There is no separate entity left. So that's where the Brahmgyani experiences only its own Atam Sarup everywhere. So that is the the final state that's actually explained in that way. Next, in upcoming chapter, Ashtavakra ji will explain as well how to actually, you know, go through the states of Brahmagyan as well, how to actually recognize the Atam Sarup. Salok, Gyani sochda hoya vi soch rahat hai. So it doesn't mean the Gyani's mind is no longer thinking. The mind activity can still be going on. That's how we cannot perform any actions without the activity of the mind. The mind is a tool. So a Brahmagyani uses that tool in a very um, in a state of very clarity, that they just know it's a tool. So even if there is thinking going on in the mind is still thinking. Brahmagyani is not having any thoughts. What it means is they are in a thoughtless state at the same time while the mind activity is going on. Indriyan sahat vi indriyan rahat hai means the senses are still doing, like they are still, their hands are moving, they are still talking, they are still listening, they are still walking towards, they are doing everyday activities. So but the difference is these sensory pleasures no longer attract them. And this is the quality of that's why no one could ever buy an enlightened being. That's why they were not afraid of anything anymore, because no one can put a price on their sensory pleasures. There was no attraction for them. So over and over from experience, we have learned from so many enlightened beings, from Jesus Christ to so many Mahapurukhs, that they were completely okay with the present moment, that no one could put a price to their peace. बुद्धिमान हुंदा होया भी निर्बुद्धि है. What it means is they are still using their intellect. However, because the Atma does not have the The intelligence, the Atma cannot be known through the intellect, because the Atma is still the awareness behind that intelligence. So the Brahmagyani is still using their intellect, but they are still not getting carried away with it. Hankar rahat sahat vi hankar rahat hai. They are still using their ahankar. So instead of getting carried away, in simple words, instead of getting carried away with all the sensory pleasures or the intellect or the ahankar or the senses, they become the master of the senses. And that's what Gurbani calls it man jeete jagjeet, because the world, actually, the whole world is only appearing at the level of space within the mind only. So, Nijkar vase sahaj subai. As we discussed, that Nijkar means within your own Atam Sarup. So, eventually, you will have to come back to your sense of self within yourself. You will never be able to find anywhere. So Maharaj is saying that while an enlightened being is still appearing like an ordinary human being in day-to-day life, they're still doing all the tasks, but within themselves, they have become the king of the senses within themselves. Salok, ज्ञानी ना सुखी है ना ही दुखी है. What it means is they're not getting disturbed by any sukh in the life nor any type of dukh in the life. It means that it is again an experience happening within a Brahmgyani. Outwardly, they do that uh, sort of portray when there is obviously when where then there are people around a Brahmgyani, they still express like every other human beings, but it is a very inner state of a Brahmgyani that if a sukh comes, they know it is temporary, that everything that is going to has taken form is going to vanish one day, so they don't get attached to that sukh as well. And dukh has the same concept too. Anything that gives suffering, first of all, we know that the suffering is of the mind and not actually out somewhere. It is the mind that is in a state of resistance. That's why acceptance has been given a very important position in spirituality, that the moment the mind accepts something, it stops that suffering. So this is something we can practice when things don't go according to the mind's narrative. In that moment, practicing seeing that dukh as there is no difference between dukh or sukh, and this can be done through practice. There is no shortcut for it. One has to practice it within their life, and that's what the real challenge comes when it comes to practicing this wisdom, that we talk about this wisdom, we listen about this wisdom, but the real point comes that are we able to practice in our life? So when the mind is completely in state of acceptance, it reaches a state of non-resistance. So it doesn't have any attachment to anything, nor it runs away from anything. ना मुक्ति दा इच्छुक है ना ही मुक्त है. So the Brahmagyan is no longer chasing liberation anymore as well. ਜਿਸ ਨਿਰਵਾਣ ਪਦ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹ ਪਹੁੰਚਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ. So Maharaj is again explaining in the sense that ਅਕਥ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਪਦ ਨਿਰਵਾਣੀ ਕੋ ਵਿਰਲਾ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਬੂਝੇ. So this is actually state which is very rare, and it's rare, but it's not impossible. That's the whole point of Gurmat. If it was impossible, Guru Sahib would not have written Granths about it. Ashtavakra ji would not have written Granths about it. So it is rare, but it is very much possible. And that's where the kirpa of Guru happens, because even if one gets gyan, the direct realization, it can give birth to ahankar. That's why the concept of prema bhakti and gyan goes hand in hand. The prema bhakti helps in eradicating that ahankar completely, and the gyan is used to break all the illusions of the mind. So they go hand in hand together. So Maharaj is saying it is very rare that only a Gurmukh can actually recognize this state of the which we call the Atampad. Salok, ਧਨ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਿਗਨ ਪੈਣ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਡੋਲਦਾ. So within themselves, even if there is any obstacles that come in the life, they don't do not waver. Their mind is not wavering, and they always use the gyan. So the gyan has become their like best friend, that wherever they are, they have found something, this wisdom that is always guiding them within themselves. So their mind has become guru now. So atma is that the param atma, the param guru, and mind has taken the form of guru. From a Sikh, the mind gets it transcends into the guru itself. So a Brahmgyani naturally gets the wisdom within himself. Samadhi ਵਿੱਚ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਸਮਾਧੀ ਮਾਨ ਨਹੀਂ, ਜੜਤਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੜ ਨਹੀਂ, ਪੰਡਤਾਈ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੰਡਿਤ ਨਹੀਂ. So what it means is whatever a Brahmgyani is seen doing, whether they are praying, whether they are sitting in certain samadhi pose, or whether they are doing katha, whether they are doing Brahm Vichar, they are not attached to any of the labels. They're not thinking about that they are Brahmagyani as well. Again, this is simply expressed to explain the state, that that's how the our Atam Sarup is. Atam Sarup does not have any of these labels in it. Salok, Jivan Mukta har sthiti vich swa vich sthit. So, someone who is liberated while they have the body, no matter in whatever state they are in their life, they're always still in their Atam Sarup. Kite hoye te karan yog to nivirt. So they're not reflecting, they don't have any regrets about the past, and they're not worried about the future too. It means that they're not constantly thinking about the future, or the mind is no longer dwelling in the past. हर हालत ਵਿੱਚ ਸਮ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ. In every state, the mind of a Brahmgyani remains in a state of equilibrium. ਤ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨਾ ਦੇ ਅਭਾਵ ਕਾਰਨ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਜਾਂ ਨਾ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ. So even if a Brahmgyani does great actions or work, whatever, they're not attached to that too. Or if they're not able to do anything in that way, they don't even have keep track of anything in that sense. That's how that's how present they are in their own Atam Sarup. Salok, ਉਸਤਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਪ੍ਰਸੰਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ. If someone praises them, they don't get affected by it. There is no one can attract them by pleasing them. ਨਿੰਦਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਗੁੱਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ. So if someone slanders them, they don't get upset about it. Again, this is all a state of within an internal state. Outwardly, they have to express, because while we are living in this world, we have to take a form of duality. Otherwise, we cannot operate in this world, simply because we have to perform our daily actions. So this is a state of internal state where there is no fluctuation happening. Na maran to ਘਬਰਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ, so they don't have any fear of losing the body, because they have accepted that it is temporary. One day it is going to get destroyed. ਨਾ ਹੀ ਜਿਉਂਦੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਮਨਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ, nor they have any excitement or happiness about staying alive. They are completely content within themselves that if they want to they no longer want to experience this universe. They have that choice now. So in that way, even if they are alive, they're not super excited about it. It sounds quite weird in a sense, but again, this is more like because Atma does not have any desires in it. And Gurbani explains about this as well, that Atma is neither born nor it dies. It is the form, that the nature itself that changes its form. Salok, ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਬੁੱਧੀ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਨਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਵੱਲ ਦੌੜਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜੰਗਲ ਵੱਲ। ਉਹ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤਿਵੇਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਸਮਭਾਵ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਚਰਦਾ ਹੈ। So Maharaj is saying those whose mind has become completely still, they are not running away from one experience to another. Means they are not leaving their houses, or they no longer think that they gotta go to some forest or some ashram or some guru kar or anywhere to experience this bliss. No matter wherever they are, whatever they are doing, in that very moment, they are completely absorbed and still in that moment. So they don't no longer want to run away from things, no longer they want to chase another thing. So har thaan te, ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਥਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ means no matter wherever they are still in their own Atam Sarup. Whether it is any place in the world, whether they are on their own, whether they are among people, within themselves, they are completely still in their Atam Sarup. And whatever naturally happens as per the hukam, Maharaj says that ਨਿਜ ਸਰੂਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਕੱਲਾ ਹੀ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ means it's a sense of solitude that wherever they are within themselves they are completely in a sense of this being, and that there is no second entity present. So that's why there is no fear in a Brahmgyani. That's why there is no dar, fear of anything or fear of missing out anything. And in whatever way, whatever hukam unfolds through them, they are completely okay with that. So in every state, they remain in this state of equilibrium. So Maharaj Kripa, we will take a pause here, and in next class we will start the last two adhyay, and after this there will be samapti of the Granth. So Maharaj Kripa, we will start the next chapter after this recording next time. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.